Federal judge bleeps down orchestrated campaign to remove Trump-appointed judge in classified documents case. Fox News. An effort to get a Trump-appointed judge taken off the former president's classified documents case was denied by a chief judge who called the complaints orchestrated. Below are your comments. This is why Smith has not made any motions to have Cannon booted. The law sets a very, very high bar to kick a federal judge off a case. You basically have to catch them taking payoffs from a party in a case they are ruling on to get Th.M. booted. It is extremely hard, legally. In that context, see more. Of all of the criminal cases that Trump is facing, this one is the most straightforward. He possessed the documents. He had no right to possess the documents. He was asked to return the documents. He refused and concealed the documents. The FBI searched his house and found the documents. Textbook. Anyone who did this whose name was not Trump would already be on trial for this. Yet Cannon keeps delaying. She has stalled the case longer than other, more complex cases. Why? What record was Pryor looking at? First, Judge Cannon is incompetent. Both the ABA evaluation of her and her behavior in this case end straight. Second, as a Trump appointee, she should have recused herself. Her handling of the case, even if she were competent, demonstrates at least the appearance of impropriety, which the judicial rules of conduct provide as a basis of recusal. Between Cannon and the three Trump appointees on the Supreme hearing cases involving Trump, they have made. Dear Judge Pryor, while the normal course of reviewing a judge's work lies in reviewing her decisions, she is refusing to render any decisions on the motions before her, even on issues that are well established in the law. That is the crux of the problem. The issue is not whether there is an orchestrated campaign to file grievances against her. The issues are: 1. Whether she is failing to have the case move along at a usual pace and whether that failing is a result of bias or incompetence. Wait until all the Republican members of Congress go home to their districts and states for summer recess in August and get an earful from constituents telling them they won't vote for Trump. Or better yet, telling them they will vote for Trump, and they vote for President Joe. Good evening. Next news. Trump campaign sends Bob Good cease and desist letter over yard signs. The Hill. Former President Trump's campaign sent a cease and desist letter to House Freedom Caucus Chair Bob G. Oods' RVA re-election campaign to stop producing yard signs and other merchandise that imply his backing of the congressman. The Trump campaign sent the letter Friday, a senior Trump campaign official confirmed to The Hill. It was sent after Good's campaign. Below are your comments. Based on the defense arguments in a recent court case, anything can be said or done during a campaign. So I don't understand why any statement on a sign would be off limits, whether true or not. I thought Trump was all for free speech. It is Good's right to say whatever he wants. He can say Trump supports him and Trump can come out and say he doesn't it. What about all the music Trump uses at campaigns that he has not been given permission to use? It works both ways. Trump and his campaign need to cease and desist. So rich that Trump's campaign would call out another Republican for fraud, particularly when they mention donors' fraud. I recall when in 2020, the Trump campaign tricked their donors into weekly recurring donations for months on end. The banks were overwhelmed with calls. Even a see more. Trump doesn't comply with cease and desist when it comes to music played from various artists at his rallies. Why should Good comply with Trump's demand? I wish I could remember who it was, but recently someone, I believe it was a governor, endorsed someone other than Trump. They had previously endorsed Trump, in 2016 or 2020, maybe both, I don't know. Trump posted video of that person endorsing him, as if it was new video. He also, in 2020, edited a portion of a town hall meeting with Biden to make it look like Biden said Trump. Sounds like Bob Good took a play right out of Trump's own playbook and Trump doesn't like it. Another example of him being able to dish it out but not being able to take it. He is unfit for office, any office. That's why I will be voting blue up and down the ballot in November. Good evening. Next news. Donald Trump suffers setback in 3 major polls after his guilty verdict. The blast. Donald Trump has suffered a massive decline in the polls 48 hours after receiving a guilty verdict in his New York hush money trial. Below are your comments. This country has a reality perception problem. When almost 50% of the country either thinks Trump was innocent or are unsure, and 85% of Republicans do not believe he was guilty, then the U.S. might have problem figuring what is fact and actual evidence and what is illogical propaganda. The U.S. Nay. See more. Per Axios, the Morning Consult poll conducted on Friday offers some of the first clues about how voters are reacting to the unprecedented situation. By the numbers, 54% of registered voters strongly or somewhat approve of the guilty verdict compared to 34% who strongly or somewhat disapprove. 49% of independents and 15% of Republicans said Trump should end his campaign because of the convict. Ion. Let me understand this. Trump was found guilty by a jury comprised of those selected by the prosecution and Trump's own attorneys. The standard applicable in this criminal case was beyond a reasonable doubt, meaning there could not be even a single juror of the 12 who had a reasonable doubt as to his guilt. And he was found guilty on all 34 counts. Yet, apparently a somewhat significant amount of persons who likely were not privy to the documentary and testimonial evidence somehow believe it was not a just verdict. If Republicans think his chances for re-election got a boost from his conviction, they should push for his other trials to commence, and maybe further convictions would put him over the top. Make sense? Most Americans didn't get to hear all the evidence put forth by the prosecution or the rebuttals by the defense. But the jury did, and the jury made the conclusion Trump was guilty of the offenses. Those that disagree should have put forth their evidence of Trump's innocence, and I am sure he and his attorneys would have appreciated it. The jury stated Trump is guilty, so I take their word he is guilty. Good evening. Next news. New poll shows voters' reaction to Trump's felony conviction. ABC News videos. ABC News political director Rick Klein breaks down the latest ABC News and Ipsos poll that shows how voters reacted to the felony conviction of former President Donald Trump. Below are your comments. No matter what the polls say, no matter who you intend to vote for, show up and vote anyway. The purpose of many of these polls is to discourage voters. Just vote and pay no attention to the polls. So, like everything else, it's 50-50. 11/5 will decide. 49% of independents and 15% of Republicans believe Trump should drop out of the race. If those numbers are accurate, he's done. Prosecutors bring charges against criminals all the time that could be described as politically motivated. This is often the case with charges brought against high-profile defendants, whether they be politica operatives like Trump or organized crime figures like Al Capone or John Gotti. At the end of the day, the motivation of the prosecutor is irrelevant if the facts of the charges support bringing them. In Trump's case, there was more than enough evidence to warrant bringing the charges and supporting his conviction. That's all that matters. To call it a divided country is to lose the lead. The divide is between the gaslit and those living in reality. Good evening. Next news. Fact check. Trump once said a candidate under federal investigation has no right to be running. Here's the context. Snopes. People shared the 2016 quote after the former president's conviction in his hush money trial. Below are your comments. Hillary was never indicted. Comey did investigate but cleared her. Unfortunately, he was messing around literally a few days before the election against the advice of AG. Comey disliked the Clintons a lot. His behavior was suspect. He did get fired by Trump, but because he hesitated to agree to see more. Trump once said a candidate under federal investigation has no right to be running. Yes, he said Now, eat your words. One of the few times where Trump is actually right. He should absolutely drop out of the 2024 election. He may have said that, but he certainly doesn't believe that it applies to him. In Trump's reality, he is a victim of persecution and never does anything wrong. He put himself in this predicament. If he hadn't tried an insurrection and a hijacking of the electors, he wouldn't have anything meanin' GFUL to have to pardon himself over. Please subscribe to my channel. And if you like it, please thumbs up.